Hey, love.
Hey,
Hey.
I love your background. Hi,
Ooh.
Rachel. Let me give everyone a few moments. Let me grab my phone.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna just pause. I'm just gonna pause my sound for a few seconds. I'll be right back.
No worries. Hi, Kaylee. Hey, Sarah. Oh, that's Jackie.
Yay!
I forget Jackie's there with you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's fun having your live-in person high accountability all the time.
I know. You're like, could you not today?
Yeah, it's pretty much what she says to me all the time. She's like, I didn't ask right now. So we're working on Sarah not giving unsolicited advice. Jackie, how's that going?
It's going good. My growth has exponentially slowed down since I asked her to stop.
We both do it for each other. We're on another 30-day nothing but mung bean cleanse. Like when we came into this world,
Oh my God.
yeah, we committed. We committed to like serious.
Are you not sick of mung beans?
Well, I mean, we get some vegetables. A little
Okay.
bit of
Yeah, it's deep detoxing. So no, I haven't had alcohol in a year. She hasn't had alcohol in a year. No coffee. No, even oat milk in our tea. Massive
Woo!
every day. Meditate every day. Hike every day. There's a lot.
pretty.
That's amazing.
Dedicated. Yeah, and feel amazing. That's why we feel amazing.
So are we
She reminds.
I think we are recording.
We are, but I'm going to unrecord this part. I was just waiting, getting everybody else a few more minutes as they come in. Hi, girls. Where is the pause recording, and I'll start back so we don't talk about poop.
Into this class within this next hour, that we are enriched by the conversation, by the connection, by the energy, by the power of the words that are spoken, by all of the wisdom that is channeled in, through, and as me, Savanna. And I just give thanks for all of the information, all of the ways in which our lives are enriched because of this time that we get to be together at this perfect moment right here and now. And so I bless this time, and I know all is well. And so we go into this time together with a ashe and a so it is. And an amen.
And so it is. I realized I wasn't recording. So at the end, I'm going to have you say who you are again, or
Okay.
maybe right now even again.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Small dose again of who you are.
I
And
will.
yeah, thank you.
All right, yeah, so I'm a speaker, author, writer. I'm a minister, an ordained minister, part of an organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. It is a global organization, and I started my spiritual path at 16 years of age, so over 20 years ago. I've been studying the New Thought Ancient Wisdom teaching. It's just a powerful way to live life, and it's about how we co-create with something greater than ourselves and how we manifest the dreams that we so desire. So we're all in the perfect place right now with that. What else? I spent a lot of time in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe, teaching, speaking, leading retreats. I've been dedicated to the path of metaphysics for such a long time. I got a master's degree in consciousness studies. And so it is my joy to be here to talk about everything sabotage, procrastination, and resistance.
And she's featured
so
on
there we
Science
are.
of My magazine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, some big accomplishments.
Yeah. So with everything that we do, there is an invitation. And I want you to just think of the question for a moment. What are you being invited to today? What is the invitation? And one of the things that I share often in the work that I do that I love, that Brene Brown, who's a researcher and writer who I follow, talks a lot about is showing up in the arena of life. Showing up. Like showing up is almost the hardest part, right? Showing up to our lives. And so I'm going to invite us today to a conversation to break down the self-sabotage, the procrastination, the resistance. We have a saying that like attracts like. And that when we set an intention to grow or to expand, when we set an intention to love more deeply, to grow a business, to have that dream career, then often what will happen is everything unlike that will show up for us to heal, to look at our shadow self, the ways that we played small, to show us, to test us almost of how aligned we say that we are with our intention. And so it's that question of, am I a vibrational match to the thing that I desire? And what I mean by vibrational match is, we are all energy, right? We are all these molecules and cells, and so we attract to us what we are vibrating at, that as Sara would call resonance. And I might be bringing in some of your stuff in here, Sara. And so yeah, so often we get in our own way. We get in our own way and we default to an old story, to an old pattern, to an old cycle of beliefs that have kept us small. And usually those beliefs are driven by the ego, driven by what I would call Kingdom One consciousness. Kingdom One consciousness is a victim consciousness. And so the thing is on the spiritual path, there are 4 stages or four worlds of consciousness that we can operate in. And one of those is kingdom consciousness, where we look to the world for our everything. We look to the world for our conditions, where we think that everything in our lives is happening to us, that somehow we have no control. When we move into kingdom 2 consciousness, we start to understand that things in our life are happening not just to us, but by us, that we have some dominion and power over our world, that we have some power over our thoughts, that there's a little bit of control there, that we can manifest the world that we seek, right? The things that we want. Then when we start to move into kingdom 3 and 4 consciousness, that's when we move into this place of total surrender, this place of things in the world don't happen to me or by me, but they happen through me and they happen as me. And so what that requires is us is a certain level of surrender. It requires us to notice when we are in that kingdom 1 consciousness of survival, of being the victim, noticing that we go in and out of these all the time, that it is not linear, right? And that one can inform the other. And so our narratives then inform our behaviors, and they further solidify those unconscious beliefs. So if you haven't worked with your stories, if you haven't worked with those narratives and really observed how it's running your life or how it's operating in your life and how it's not serving your life, then you will continue to get that feedback loop of what you deeply believe. I mean, this is like basic metaphysics, you know? So when you are then asked to move into a new paradigm, what Sara would call a quantum leap, when you're being asked to move into another way of being, human nature, we fall back to the old patterns, the old paradigm, the old thinking, right? And Gay Hendricks, who wrote The Big Leap, talks about it as an upper limit. We hit this upper limit, right? Which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. So our unconscious assumptions then create these emotions in the body. So every belief that we have creates this emotional body, which in turn generates that mind activity and that reactivity, which is why we can see times in our lives where we're reactive versus responsive, based on the belief that's operating, right? And so that is how we create our own reality. It's not thought alone, it's the emotion plus the thought plus the behaviors plus the things that we value that absolutely creates what we have in form. And that's why we say thoughts are things. And so that's the reason it's also important that we fact check those narratives that we've created and become aware of what those are. Sarah, do you want to add anything? Because I was.
Susie Batiz shows this. If you take her, she's one of the world's richest women. She's self-created here in Texas. Amazing woman. She has in her class, she has a circle. What is it called? The torus. And she shows this so that our analytical brains can understand what's happening. But essentially, like what comes out of your internal inside goes out and comes right back into your existence, into yourself. The torus. Yeah. So it is scientifically proven, and they're showing this, in fun ways, that we are mental thoughts and how then we then take actions and then how we are creating our world. So that's what she's saying.
Totally. And quantum physics shows us that too. So if you were to study quantum physics, you would get into all the dense material around how thought forms and waves of thought collapse into thought, into actual form. So yes, it's absolutely proven out there. So why am I saying all of this? Well, because self-sabotage has everything to do with Kingdom 1 consciousness. It has everything to do with that victim consciousness stage. What is self-sabotage? Well, to me, in a lot of ways, I think it's us letting the ego win. And I am not one of those people who believes that we should get rid of the ego. I think the ego is important. I think the ego is great contrast. It shows us we're human. It lets us know that we're alive. It lets us know where we want to be and when we're operating from an egoic place. But I think it's letting the ego win. And it's our human way of coping, fighting, or preventing our own freedom and our own liberation. That is what self-sabotage is. I'm going to say it again. It's a way of coping, fighting, or preventing our own freedom and our own liberation. So what does that look like? Well, that looks like, the first one on the list, what are some common self-sabotaging behaviors? Well, procrastination is one of the big ones. Ongoing stages of confusion. If you're constantly in the stuck place, I'm stuck, I'm confused, I just don't know, I'm just confused. Self-medication, comfort eating, toxic relationships, drama. If all of our focus is on drama all of the time, codependent types of relationships, the mentality of the world owes me. So this entitled feeling of victim consciousness again.
Guilt, shame.
Say it again.
Guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. Totally. Yes.
I'm shining too bright.
I'm shining too
bright.
Yes, I'm shining too bright. I must be fundamentally flawed. So what's at the root of all of this though is unworthiness. That's at the root. At the root is I'm unworthy of having X, or I'm not good enough to do or to have X. And so we sabotage because in some ways it's almost comfortable. It's like that old friend. It's almost comfortable to sit in the old familiar patterning of our past stories and the ways that we have learned to cope than to have to leap into a new paradigm, than to have to grow, to be bold, to show up, which is what I said at the beginning of this, of showing up for ourselves and for our lives. And it's also because it means that we might have to take responsibility, keyword responsibility, for everything in our lives. And to most people, I think that that's scary. Like, you mean I have to take responsibility for everything I'm creating in my life? Right? And so I have this interesting story. Years ago, when I was going through my ministerial training and I was in this master's program, I dreaded going to class. And I knew, and my soul knew, that the decision to enter ministerial school was my path. It was my vision. It was my purpose. I absolutely knew it. There was nothing in me that said no. And yet every single time I started to go to class, I resisted. I did not want to show up. I didn't want to go because I knew that it was going to grow me. It was going to stretch me. I was scared. I was like, I don't want to do the hard work today. And every single time my mom, when I was living at home for that period of time, she was like, you've got to just get in the car. And every single time I transformed. Every single time it was such a great class. Every single time I was like, I am so glad that I came. So it's that showing up to your mat. Jackie, you would understand this. Just showing up to the mat. Get your gym clothes on, show up on your mat, showing up to your class, showing up to that hard conversation, showing up in a tough parenting moment, showing up to honor yourself and your worth. It's like,
so the way I describe that is that you're on a certain frequency. So all of us are vibrating at a certain channel, like on the radio station. And when you're about to take that leap, that quantum leap, that class that's going to forever change you, there's this uncomfortable, like, oh, I gotta like break through to that next channel. So that to me is like the energetic barrier that you're about to go through. So it's normal, it's there, and you can't let it win you. And I would also say to self-sabotage, like this shows up frequently when you're keeping unhealthy relationships. Because you feel guilt and shame for not leaving, unhealthy jobs, unhealthy any of those like relationship to another human in some form where you're feeling guilt and shame about the other person. That's self-sabotage, because it's actually not doing anything good for them either.
that is,
It's tricky, self-sabotage.
it is. And it's almost illusory. It's like this lie we tell ourselves. Man, that's so good. And so the question then that I have been asking myself is, how many fierce and loving hard conversations have I over the years been willing to have or confront that would either set a boundary for myself, honor myself, and ultimately set me free? Because for years I spent, gosh, I don't know, as conscious as I felt that I have been and authentic and all of those things, I have spent years not having the hard conversations, not having those honest conversations of saying yes when I meant no, setting a boundary, leaving the toxic, abusive relationship, and ultimately honoring myself. And it would have freed me so much sooner if I had shown up for myself. And again, this is all connected to that cycle of how much do I value myself? How worthy do I find myself to be? And it's also that thing of, I would say, well, but I'm so used to dysfunction. I'm so used to that codependency. I'm so used to cycles of self-abandonment. And we get stuck in that self-sabotage. That story then reaffirms and keeps the narrative alive. It keeps the story, the old stories going, and it further perpetuates the things that we don't want.
I'm going to have everyone just take a breath, because she just gave us a lot right now. Close your eyes, take a breath, and just think about where in your life this might be, just for a few moments, because she gave you a lot of juiciness. Thank you, love. One thing I can think of pretty quickly is how we set ourselves up in the day, how we choose to hit the snooze button, perhaps, or how we choose to not have our things pre-planned and yet we're running out the door late. These are all these little small moments of our day is how self-sabotage can show up. And it just sometimes is super small that changes the whole. And a lot of us here know the trim tab. We know from Odyssey what that is. That's that little tab on the boat that directs the whole ship. And it's just so small. So how self-sabotage might be playing a role in your life. Thank you, Savanna.
Yeah. It's deep because it brings us back to how much do I honor myself and my time? How valuable am I? Because what is the risk of showing up for yourself and others? Well, the risk to some of us might be failure, rejection, heartbreak. We think we might lose something. But what if the risk of showing up for yourself is actually something amazing? What if it's something far more successful and incredible than you've even imagined right now? And that is the reframe, right? That is the leap in trust. So what if showing up for yourself meant that you could have everything that you wanted?
Mm.
What if showing up for yourself meant that you were completely and totally supported?
Mm.
And how willing are we, and how willing are you to prioritize your worth? That's really what it is. Like we've talked about that, the gas mask analogy of putting your own gas mask or your own face, what is it?
Air.
Airplane.
Oxygen.
Yes, oxygen mask on first, not gas. And so we get to then, we have the opportunity then to look at our resistance. So what is the resistance? Everyone quotes this all the time, but it is so true that our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure, and it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And it's so true, because instead of saying, well, it's too good to be true, it's like, well, no, what if it's so good that it's true? You know? And so I want to give you the spiritual truth. I want to give you a little of this spiritual truth. A lot of this is psychology, but there's also the spiritual. And the spiritual is that when we don't know that we matter, when we don't know that we are enough, when we don't believe that there is more available to us, we tend to make up stories to fight for our limitations and for the things that keep us safe and comfortable and small and familiar. And so we create these situations to prove to ourselves that the story that we're telling is true. And so, but the truth is that we are divine. The truth is that we are divine beings. We are divine beings having this human experience in human form, and we are creating all the time. And so you are infinite. You are infinite potential. You are infinite possibility. And so I know that we are that God life. I am that God life, that universal intelligence, that presence. And so what does this mean to me? This means that we have absolutely no time to waste in giving our gift away. We have absolutely no time to waste in stepping up and showing up to our lives, even if it's baby steps. Because for some, it seems so overwhelming of like, well, where do I even begin? That I say, well, we just take one step. We take a baby step. So I want to give you this formula that I think will help with this, to understand this. And the formula is this: your belief plus the law, or the universal law, you can call it that, equals evidence. So what this means is, if I have the belief that I am unsupported, I am not supported in my life, then universal law, the universe always says yes to every desire. That's why we want to be very conscious and mindful of the kinds of thoughts and things that we put out into the world. And so if I have the belief that I am unsupported, the universe says, yes, you are unsupported. And then your brain and what you do, you will try to find evidence that that is true. It's just what we do. Like, see, I told you she didn't support me. See, I told you this is what happened. So what you want to do is, if that's true, then we want to shift the belief. The belief to, I am supported, I am loved, I have everything that I need and more, and start to look for evidence in your life to prove that that is now true. Right? Where in your life are you supported? Where in your life do you make a difference and an impact? Where in your life do you feel most grateful? Where in your life do you feel most worthy and loved? Does that make sense?
There's physical practices that you guys can do. One is breath work. You guys are getting a lot more of this again in Fuel too, but set the intention. So first of all, I want you guys to set the intention. So what she's saying, okay, you notice that you're feeling unworthy. You notice that you have fear about your dream, or, I really want to try this, but I feel really scared to do it. So you're going to first set the intention. This is where I'm going. I'm setting the intention for healing. I'm setting the intention for feeling worthy. And then you put practices in place. So one of them is breath work. You can physically start to move the super conscious, which is running all of our daily things that we're doing. We were talking about this today. So breath work is really helpful as a physical practice. There's a whole bunch more you guys are going to get later, but if you guys are thinking, okay, well, it's just thoughts might not be enough, just start breathing into it, because it's like incantations where you tap your body when you're saying it and anchoring. And maybe you were going to already say this, but anchor those in, tap your body while you're saying the things that you're going to say, because you want to physically get it into your super conscious.
Yes. Totally. That's so good. Thank you for that practical application. So I'm moving through all of this because I still have a lot more I want to share, and then we'll get to some questions because I'm really curious to know what you think of this. Like, where is some of this landing for you? You know, what is coming up for you in terms of self-sabotage? Because we all do it on some level, right? We all have something that we're working on. So resistance. I'm going to say a few things and few ways that we might resist, and I want you to see if you can find yourself in something that I say. Okay. We resist what is. We resist letting go. Resistance to learning something new. Resistance to change. Resistance to having to grow. Resistance to uncomfortable emotion. Resistance to having a difficult or fierce conversation. Resistance to the unknown. Resistance to playing in a bigger pond. All right. Can we relate to any of those? Or all of them? I think I can relate to all of them because I wrote them all down. We all experience resistance. And what we know, it's like a basic law, is that what you resist persists, what you resist grows. So when we are in a state of resistance, we are actually in opposition to the thing that we desire, to the intention that we planted into the universe. It's harder then for what we want to come in. And Sara, I know you talk about this in terms of resonance. Do you want to share a little bit about resonance?
Yeah. So I learned this also. I've known about resonance for a while, but I do want to credit Susie Batiste in this class that she helped us understand that it's our GPS signal to the divine and our higher self, that we feel like this, like, ooh, like lit up, like brave thing to do, a little bit of excitement, like you should go left, and your analytical mind's like, no, I need to go right. No, you listen to your GPS. So once you've set the intention, you then will get downloads, little droplets from your higher self, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, God, and it will tell you, get on the phone right now, go to this class right now, do this one crazy thing you really don't want to do, you know, like, and that is your GPS signal to get you to where you're going. And the opposite of that is dissonance. And that's when you're not in vibrational lit up about something, like it feels heavy and it feels hard, and you know, like you don't feel good. It's different than resistance. So you've got to watch out. You got to discern between the two of dissonance and resistance. And there is a different way to tell. Resistance kind of feels scary, like shoot, like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I know I got to do it. And then dissonance is like, I don't feel well. It's heavy. It's and maybe you can explain it even further, but so you guys don't get tricked. Like if you feel fear, that's not intuition. Intuition usually is neutral and it's telling you. It doesn't have a high or a low to it. It's just a guide. So when you're feeling fear, that's usually your mind that's come in. So they can get a little tricky, but you're always practicing something, and it's like a muscle. And the more you guys practice this, the better you'll get at it. And the more you listen to those intuitive pings, again, you're just going to start getting more and more and more.
Yeah. Yes. Love that. Well, the thing is you can't be in resistance and flow at the same time. So it's about being in that downward stream. So what Abraham Hicks would talk about, instead of trying to go upstream, it's thinking downstream. So the next best thought that you could think of. One of my mentors and teachers, Dr. Michael Beckwith, says, the pain of your transformation is in equal proportion to the resistance to life. The pain of your transformation is in equal proportion to your resistance to life, which means that when we're in a state of surrender and flow and grace and ease, then the pain of our transformation is lessened because we're trusting something greater. We're trusting something higher. We're not in resistance to what is happening, you know? So I think in some ways, because of that reptilian brain, because of how we're wired as humans, it's easier to go into that fight or flight when faced with something, to go into resistance. It's actually the opposite that lessens the pain of our transformation. So resistance and self-sabotage go together because one, I think, is a byproduct of the other. We resist and therefore we sabotage. Right? So I want to talk a little bit about the upper limit problem And the upper limit problem, when I first read a little bit about this work by Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, which is a class I'm going to be teaching here soon, is when they explained this to me, I was like, well, that's it. We all go through this on our path, which is that we all have this inner thermostat. And this inner thermostat setting determines how much love, how much success, how much creativity that we allow ourselves to enjoy. And when we exceed our inner thermostat setting, we will often do something to sabotage ourselves, which causes us, as I was saying earlier, to drop back into old familiar patterns, old outdated stories in a familiar zone because it makes us feel secure. But unfortunately, this thermostat usually is programmed in early childhood for many of us. And it keeps us in what they call the zone of competence and not in our zone of genius. And so if we make, and Sara, you alluded to this earlier in this class, that if we make that spectacular, amazing leap past our upper limit, when we go past it into our joy, our success, our financial abundance, then sometimes what can happen is that upper limit problem then shrouds us with all this guilt. Like, well, who do you think you are to make this much money? Or, all those past beliefs start to come in, like we have to feel guilty for the life that we've created. I call it, or some people have called it, the imposter syndrome. We think we're a fraud. We think, well, my father would say, don't get too big for your britches, or we think that we are outshining, we might outshine someone else, or that we're fundamentally flawed. So how could I possibly have this much good? Like, how could it possibly be this good?
It's a phenomenal book. You guys, this is another third book to add to
the Big Leap.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, everything starts in consciousness. Everything does. And so the way out, the way up, the way beyond is to do our work in consciousness, which means we get to practice expanding our capacity for positivity and positive energy and love. And so some ways we can do that is through gratitude. I know you talk about this a lot, Sara. So gratitude and appreciation. So when we start to enjoy what we have, when we start to enjoy our money, we enjoy our love, we enjoy our creative expression, then everything else around us starts to expand as well. So it's not this.
Grateful.
What's that?
And grateful for what you're losing. Grateful for the resistance when it comes. Grateful for the struggle. If you guys can start even switching to the things that you perceive as you don't like and the hard things to being grateful, it almost instantly starts to make it like takes the power out. It's grateful to even the tough.
That's right. Grateful for the resistance. What I love about that is because contrast is so helpful. Like, I'm so grateful for the dark stuff. I'm grateful for the negative emotions. I'm grateful for the pain and the hardship and the losses and the grief I've had in my life. Why? Because I can see where I want to go. I can see how much resilience and strength I have now, right? It's like we need both somehow to balance it all out, So what else do I want to share? So it's not the idea that I'm going to be happy once I have all these things in place. It's I'm going to prepare my consciousness. So I'm going to become in consciousness the thing that I seek, the thing that I desire, and be aware when that upper limit starts to come in to the equation. So I'm mindful of, I just hit my upper limit. I am in resistance right now. What is this resistance about? What is this self-sabotage about?
So J Lo, after 6 million copies, was interviewed and said she still feels like she has imposter syndrome because she feels like that someday people are going to figure her out. And her and I were talking about, I did this, what I had felt like was a radical post. I was like, I don't know. I think I should pull it down. I think I should pull it down. She's like, she starts laughing. She's like, that's your self-sabotage. And that post got me a new client. So we frequently, when we're like out and exposed, that's that upper limit. Like we'll do something to self-sabotage and we'll convince ourselves to get back to that familiar old rather than the new. Joe Dispenza too talks about this. Yeah. So sometimes it's just that subtle, girls. Like it's just that subtle. Sometimes it's like unbelievable about how the small things when you're like, I should go for a walk today. And like, no, for some reason. But when you were on that walk, you might have met your new best friend who might have utterly changed your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. So true.
And feel free, girls, to ask questions. If you got anything in here, a bunch of the girls, just to let you guys know, are on Facebook. We've got Crystal, Gabrielle, and a few people who aren't in the class. So they are chatting over there.
Awesome. You know, you reminded me of something that is a really powerful thing, which is on social media. There have been moments where I wanted to create a vulnerable post and everything in me stopped me. I just stopped myself because I'm like, do I want the whole world? But there was something in me that was like, this could be really powerful and really helpful and really inspiring to people. And it's the same thing that you're talking about. My desire, it's like, I want to do this, but I'm afraid. And I'm wanting to self-sabotage it. But what I notice is it's when I'm afraid like that is when I'm supposed to do it. And then after I do it, those are the ones that get the most traction. Those are the ones where people come forward and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that. I needed to hear that today. No.
The more fearful, the bigger the leap. That's the quantum leaping. So whatever you're most afraid of, if you can attack it every single day, what am I most afraid of today? Go right. I want you to go right towards that.
Yeah.
Right in it. And you'll have that much of a gain. However more scarier it is.
Yes.
And you'll just keep getting better and better at it.
Totally. That's where we up level, you know, we move past the upper limit. And so the task then in some ways is also to give our expanding positive feelings, if we can get ourselves into a state of positivity, of gratitude, of feeling love and joy, our full attention. Because like I said, wherever we vibrate is what we create, right? Whatever place that we're vibrating at is what we're going to bring into our experience. And for me, sometimes resistance can be attached to confusion. And somebody once said to me, and it hit me right between the eyes. I said, I'm just confused. I'm overwhelmed. I'm so confused. And he said, Savanna, you are not confused. You are not committed. I was like, what? My ego was bruised for a moment. Like, what? He says, no, your confusion is a lack of commitment. Your commitment to being great. Your commitment to being amazing. So take that in as a quote to remember. Your confusion is your lack of commitment. I know. Juicy stuff. All right. So I don't know how much time we have, but questions? Do we want to go into a
procrastination, resistance, and self-sabotage? We covered them all. Yeah. We covered them all. All right. Rasa.
Oh, hi. I was curious to kind of go deeper into the dissonance because I've been experiencing lately, like I've noticed pretty major shifts around fear. Like I don't feel the same. Like I did read Taking the Big Leap or Your Big Leap by Gay Hendricks at the end of 2019, which really motivated a huge shift in my life into 2020. And I feel like I'm definitely in this, like, I mean, for years I've been going in and out, like I'm working to push through some really big things and kind of step into like what feels like my genius and like what I'm here to do. And I've noticed some major shifts in like the last 4 months where I can feel I'm not operating from survival mode. But I feel like in the last couple of months, there's been kind of like what we were saying, like those tests coming up, like especially the last month or two. And I can see it, like it's almost a daily practice right now. Like the things come up and I feel the overwhelm. I feel the, like, even today, I was like feeling that test of like kind of, it's like I'm working really hard to like not go into that fear place and into the lack and like coming back to my place of center and into my power. So I'm kind of going in and out of that. And I'm not feeling like, I feel really clear. I don't feel a lot of confusion or a lot of fear. I'm just feeling a lot of like overwhelm. And it's when I'm experiencing overwhelm as I'm like learning about boundaries right now. There's a lot of test like growth and boundaries. And, you know, and I feel like I'm in the process of working through some really big leaps, and there's just a lot of learning in it that feels really tender. You know, so I was just, and I really resonated, Sarah, with what you said about dissonance. And I'm, you know, and so right now I was just filled or called to reach out if there's like any support. Cause even as I've been sitting in this call, I'm like, whoa, there's so much emotion there. Like, I feel like kind of on the verge of crying a little. Cause I feel more tired than I feel like yeah, anyways. That's just
well, 80%, Dr. Naram says 80% of our physical ailments come from emotion and stuff, things from childhood.
yeah.
So just as a fun centering, when you're feeling anxiety, everybody can press on your earlobes 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same thing here. 6 times. You breathe in. And then as you breathe out, you let go of your finger. I can always feel that instantly on my fingers. Again, breathe in. And breathe out. You're going to do that 6 times, and you have another one on your third eye. And you press it in 6 times. I don't know if you guys can already feel, especially the one in between your nose. So that'll start to drop the anxiety. That'll just help you just to get centered quickly, if you want to get centered quickly. And then, of course, anything in our diet and that we're putting in our body will increase it. You can actually take ghee and rub ghee on your temples, and that's just going to get you calm. The other thing I have everyone do is welcome it. Because if you're resisting, I don't want to feel all these things, you're just creating more of it. So it comes up, and just welcome it in. Whatever that thought is, welcome it in, and then you affirm where you want it to go, what you want it to be. So now you got yourself into out of fight or flight a little bit, and then you're going to start looking at, okay, dissonance. Where is this at in my life? Where am I saying yes when I mean no, even in the small moments? Where should I be saying yes, and instead I'm saying no? Am I placing my energy in places that aren't my high-flying disc? And again, Susie Batiz talks about this with dissonance. She described it like a pound of potatoes on the body. When we're carrying around that weight, we are just attracting so much more heaviness into our life. And if it's dissonance for you, it's dissonance for someone else. So they call it like the white noise of static interference. Like, you can't get tuned into the other things trying to come in. When in my field, like say Jackie was an unhealthy partnership, my mom always says, Sarah, Mr. Right can't come knocking when Mr. Wrong's answering the door. Well, that's our whole life. When you've got things in your life that really aren't serving your highest consciousness and expression, you're then going to attract more. It's like Savanna and I were just talking, like if you're doing this bad job you don't really like, well, you're going to get speeding tickets on the way, and you're going to get all these like bills that you don't want. And like, that's how you attract. So it's not just those little moments of dissonance that you don't like, but now you're attracting even more dissonance into your life and things that aren't good. So if you're feeling not well, and if you're feeling really like heavy down, start dissecting your life and its daily practices and routine of where you might be doing something in your body, with your body, around with other people that isn't serving your highest expression, and just slowly start to reset. I don't know, Savanna, if you have anything on that as well.
Yeah, when you were talking, the question that kept coming up is, what is your self-care practice? What are the ways that you really nurture and honor yourself, give back to yourself? I have certain boundaries for myself, certain agreements with myself in terms of self-care, because I know that because of the type of work I do, we're giving all the time, and sometimes we forget to fill our own cup. And so when you mentioned the word overwhelm, I thought immediately of what are some things of self-care that you could practice, for me, it's chiropractic, it's acupuncture, it's going for a walk, it's yoga, it's, as you said, food, nourishing our bodies, it's meditation, it's reading a really juicy, good book, it's a cup of tea, what would that look like for you that's going to get you in a because you already said you practice, getting in a centered state. I would just add that to the equation.
And you're going to get so much more in fuel. Like we're going to go over the foods and the ways to heal your body through ancient wisdom. Right here, guys, one more that I feel like should be said for this. I don't know if you guys seen this, the forgiveness one. Because usually like it's somewhere this is one of the most powerful points that they have for healing is you press this marble point 6 times for forgiveness and you visualize the face of the person that you are needing to forgive. And oh my gosh, the night I did this for ceremony, I was like, oh wow, that was when I was like 5. I got 7 years old, 8. Like there's so much stuck trauma in there. And then I kept seeing my face because we'll often get ourselves into a situation where we get hurt and then we're like, oh, Sarah, why did I go there? Like Jackie just listened to a recent one. I was like, why did I do that? Oh, why did I do that? Well, let's just forgive ourselves while we're at it. Because there's probably a lot of that and it'll keep coming up like this to want to be looked at and dealt with. And the minute you welcome it, you release it and you affirm it, it'll start helping. Start helping in nature too. Some nature time.
Okay.
Take a breath with me. I'm giving you a really big hug, my love, Rasa. So good to see your face. Any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions?
Jackie has one, I can feel it.
Question.
Yep.
Do I have a question?
Are there any on Facebook too? I don't know. I can't see.
Double check that.
No, I'm looking there. We have, Ash said, I wish I wasn't at work. Love to join this right now. Loved you and Jackie. Ben says hi. Russell says, and so it is. My sister says hello. Gabrielle, who's in fuel, speaking my language. Mom's here, or was. Crystal, who's in our class, is so thankful to be here. Christina is watching. Thumbs up. Heart love. Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I have another offering for the group in the overwhelm, because overwhelm is something that like I particularly struggle with as well. That's that's like one of my experiences, one of my triggers. Is lately we've been doing like a hand on the heart and a hand on the womb, and just taking a breath or two and taking the time to slow down and center in and ask for the yes or no in your physical body, to feel the sensation of the yes or no. And that for me takes away a lot of the overwhelm, because I know that I'm getting the right answer when I tap into my heart and I tap into my womb, and I can trust that over my mind that just wants to make sense of everything.
So Savanna's talking about, like, thank you, Jackie, love. Our resistance, procrastination, and self-sabotage really being linked to our worthiness. And just remembering that in this, as you guys let these words sink in, because she gave us a lot, is where in this about my worthiness? Like where, and just take, some time to write that down. What is it in your belief system? I like to actually physically, if I was in front of you guys, like walk yourselves backwards to, I like this, the limiting belief, and like stand in that, whoa. And then physically walk yourself forward and put your hands up. I love dancing. You guys are gonna do this with fuel, and dance in it and press your body into where you're going. Like, I am a effing goddess. Like, I'm a warrior. I am love. I am light. And that's again like another incantation, but you're pressing it into your body and you're just reaffirming, and you're gonna have to keep walking back to feel, okay, oh, where's this coming from? Find that line.
Yeah.
You got the 4 pillars of consciousness.
I only got it in,
Yeah.
The 4 kingdoms of consciousness. Sometimes Jean Houston refers to them as the 4 worlds. Yeah.
Very helpful. So that's what she's talking about. Now we're moving into being like the awareness creator. Our life is a result of our thoughts and beliefs. That's the beginning of fuel. If you don't already aware of that, now you are. Put your seatbelt on. And then again, I just want to reflect real quickly over some of the other things that you were talking about. You quoted too Michael Beckwith. Can you say his line again?
Yeah, so
Resistance.
the pain of your transformation is in equal proportion to your resistance to life.
Oh, oh. Jackie and I are on a 30-day nothing but mung bean cleanse. So let's talk about resistance and our whining and complaining.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nothing but monkey. A ton of detoxing herbs at the same time.
Yeah. And so the more you resist it, the more painful, the more uncomfortable it is. Like when we know we got to do, all of us, no one's exempt from the work. No one. And it's in all those little sacrifices every single day that lead to the gain. Matthew McConaughey just wrote a book called Green Lights. And so good. So he says all the red lights in life where you feel like you're stuck and you got to like get through something, that's actually what creates all the green lights later. So you're going to do the work today, what makes you feel really uncomfortable right now when we get off this call, something that makes you feel really uncomfortable. What are you afraid of? I want you to go, I talked about like, think about I'm kissing the dragon. You walk up to that dragon, you kiss it. And on the other side is the gems. And that's what Savanna is saying right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what if showing up for yourself meant that you could have everything you wanted? And what if showing up for yourself completely meant that you were totally supported? And what if showing up for yourself is the most loving thing that you could do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now y'all are aware of resistance. Okay. So when you start fuel and you're like, no, Sarah, I don't want to do this homework. This is your resistance. That's your self-sabotage. That's your procrastination. And you're going to say, I invested all this money and this time to the end of this 3 months to effing up level your life. You guys are going to stand in your crowns and your goddess dresses on the top of that mountain, and we'll soon be in the Bahamas together on some sort of girl vacation. That's where we're going. That's where you're going. You guys have a big job in this world, and that's why we're here together. Yeah. It's such a blessing.
Totally.
Such a blessing. Oh, I'm feeling it. I feel my heart. I don't know if you guys can do it. She wrote. Can you tell we're a duo? Jackie's like,
I just channel what she thinks and write it down.
We're like 10 years now, going strong. Lots of really, really good notes. I'm just going to check to see if there's any more. Emotion equals energy in motion. You just said a lot of juicy stuff here. Are you sure there's no more questions, girls? Oh, yes. Let me copy what you wrote here. That's so important. Savanna.
I have something to share real quick.
Please.
It came up when I can't remember what exactly we were talking about in the same moment, but when talking about responsibility, and one way that I like to work with that word and meaning is like our ability to respond. So seeing responsibility is like owning our power and our ability to respond to things. Like we always have that ability to respond. And when we're running from our responsibility, we're actually denying our power, or like our awareness of our power and how to respond to things. And that when you were in the context of when it was talking about earlier, I was like, ooh, that's like another little fun hack.
It helps us remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it helps us remember. You guys might take a pen tonight, which is a random idea, and put a dot somewhere on your wrist, just so you're going out throughout the next few days and thinking to yourself, in this moment, is this a moment towards my higher self? Is this a moment towards my goal? Or is this a moment of self-sabotage or procrastination? Because we're going to get you into archetypes. We're going to get you to move from that archetype in the victim, in the self-sabotage, in the child, and we're going to start moving you into warrior, into the lover, into the magician. We're going to have you guys like standing full throttle, and it's an everyday practice to keep going, but you'll at least be able to recognize it quickly.
One little thing that came up, because she gave the your belief plus the law equals the evidence. Yeah. So often what we actually see is the evidence. So I've been noticing, like, just an example from my life, and this can be a way that you backtrack and find what those limiting beliefs are to even change them, is I've been noticing that I didn't have the finances I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so in backtracking with that, found a belief in scarcity. or in different beliefs around money, but a belief in scarcity, and that I couldn't on my own, produce the finances needed to do what I want to do. So that's a big belief that I'm working with transforming right now into.
So the
abundance.
switch with that would be, no, I can't afford that right now. I don't have enough money in my bank would be, ooh, what can I do to make more money? No, I can't afford that. That's not in my realm. It's what can I do to make more money? Oh, there's Janelle. She's doing a vintage sale right now and I'm supposed to be there. No, you said 6. Shut it down. Oh, it's 10 minutes open. Oh, everybody knows I love vintage.
The other belief is that there is more than enough.
Hmm.
I have more than enough. There's everything that I needed more is already coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so excited when you guys get the book. There's a lot to the subject. A lot. All right, the girls, there's no other question. Is there a fear you guys have right now? You guys want to ask a question about the fear? Because you guys have Savanna on the call right now, and she is phenomenal. She will get right to your heart.
I don't have a question, but I can mention something that resonated with me a lot when you said it. And you said, I am so used to, you said, well, I wrote some things down that resonated with me when you said, I am so used to, and I said, overgiving, being the nurturer, being abandoned, giving more than receiving. And it was funny because I never processed that as recognizing that I'm so used to this is affirming that it will come to me still. Yeah, even though like I say affirmations like, I am worthy, or good things are coming to me, or I am in the right place at the right time, having that belief and recognizing that that was a huge part of my childhood is still affirming that that is still me. So it was a very eye-opening moment for me.
I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's why contrast is one of the greatest teachers.
Mhm.
Because we get to then see how far we've come. Like, that belief doesn't serve me anymore.
Mhm.
And you know what? I for years held on to past stories thinking they were part of my identity when I had clearly outgrown them. But they were like, again, that old familiar comfortable friend. Actually, they weren't even comfortable anymore. They were just that old familiar friend. And it was like, I don't need that anymore.
Mhm.
I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, and my ex-husband and I were sitting at a restaurant together, and he said one day, Sarah, that's that thing I don't like about you, that story about chronic fatigue. And I remember being like, should I like crying into the bathroom? And I was like, holy poop, it's a story. Like, I have more energy than everybody in the house. I did at the time that they gave me that diagnosis, but that wasn't my diagnosis anymore. And it was like 30 some years I'd been carrying around this label of chronic fatigue syndrome, and it took me 16 seconds. That's it. And that was never my story again. That's fast. Once we catch the loop, wow, I don't really have this diagnosis. I'm making the diagnosis. I have more energy than everybody, but it only took 16 seconds. So now you caught it. You catch it.
That's great.
I don't know if any of you have read Radical Forgiveness. I forgot the name of the author. It was actually recommended to me by Lindsay Torres.
Colin Tipping?
Yeah. Yeah, that book was probably like in the beginning stages of my spiritual awakening. But there's a line in that book that I highlighted, and it says, what would happen if other people held you accountable and you held other accountable on complaining? So like you complain about something 3 times, that's enough to release it. And then you don't allow yourself to complain about it ever again. Or you hold your friends accountable and say, you've talked about this enough. We've covered the bases. It's time to let it go. And like, just like this weekend, I'm a server, and it was like a $220 check, and they tipped me like less than $10. And I remember I kept complaining about it, and I probably complained about it like 5 times, and it kept popping in. I was like, don't you talk about it. There's nothing it does to serve you other than to like get another bad tip. So like, stop it, drop it. But yeah, it's a really good book. It's a really good book.
Alexa is going to school. Can you tell everybody what you're going to school for right now? Because it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I can, but yes, I can. I'll say the whole thing. So I am going to school for PR and journalism to elevate stories of survivors, but I also do on the side human trafficking education. And yeah, I do human trafficking education, and I am a caregiver for human trafficking survivor females under the age of 18.
And starting her own nonprofit. Let's
That's
just
incredible.
I'm just gonna blast you on that one, girl. You deserve some love blast.
Yes.
We have some
Wow.
amazing girls in this class. I'm so excited. Kaylee, you have anything in there, love, you want to ask? Any fear that you might be facing that you want some love guidance from Savanna?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I feel like I am just kind of stuck in my head right now. Just trying to soak it all in, trying to understand.
I'm glad you're
But-
here.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Mm.
I feel
Oh.
your heart. I feel your heart. Even though you're in your head, I feel your heart too.
Mm.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all welcome.
Yeah.
All emotion, all of it. Yeah.
Everyone take a deep breath.
Hmm.
Oh, I love you, girls. Mm. Sisterhood, you guys are amazing. I just feel so grateful to be in this container. So grateful.
And just know that this topic in and of itself, even though I teach it all the time, you know, it's in my semantics, it's still heavy. You know, it's normal, completely normal for things to be percolating. I think Sarah said something to me earlier today, even that the place where we feel that emotion, for me, it lives right here, where I feel like I'm about to cry. And I think you even alluded to it, Rasa, about being on the verge of tears. And to me, that's just a signal of, it's a trigger, but it's a signal that something within us wants to grow. And that's a beautiful thing, because it's like, oof, yeah, I'm ready to leap. So all of it is welcome, and all of it is necessary to move to the next phase of our evolution. So we get to be kind and gentle to ourselves. You know?
Yeah. I spent a whole lot of time on the floor crying. Like I have done. Jackie has been there to help pull me up, and Jackie too.
Yeah.
It's that human beautiful process. Alexa said you are infinite potential and love.
I love it.
So
Yeah. And so it is. Yes, yes, yes. I accept.
Well, we went over, and it feels like not long enough. Savannah's like, I don't know. I feel like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was like, oh, we gotta have just an hour. And now I know. I hope you guys took notes, because even my mind's like, oh, there's so much that she gave really quickly. Just keep this in mind, and miracle equals quantum leap. Yes. What is this? This isn't what she said. This is extra notes.
Sorry, I have.
Intuition doesn't always make logical sense. Yes, all these things. It's great. Okay, before we hang up, I would love each person just to say one word that they're feeling right now. One word that comes to your mind. Jackie.
Gratitude.
A whole lot of love.
I'd say humility.
I'm getting reverence.
Full.
Janelle, give us a word.
Validation.
I love Janelle. I'm giving an Airbnb for all of us. Like, we have got to all be in the same room together doing our party at the end of this. Kaylee, my love.
Grateful. I'm just really grateful that I get to be a part of this. Very great.
Rachel.
Possibility.
There she is.
I'm here.
All right. I love you, girls. Savanna, thank you so much. So she has a ton more workshops that she does. She does private coaching, counseling. She does relationship counseling. She's launching this Rising Strong program. She's got a boundary course. I'm pretty sure that we tentatively made plans that she's going to help at the end of it again. We might do another workshop with her where she's at Sarah's more offhands, I think, and she's just going to run us through breakout rooms and practical things that we can do. Hello, friend. So where can everyone stalk you after they're done stalking me?
All the socials. You can find me on Instagram at Savi Noelle. So that's SAVINOELLE. My website, savannahnoelle.com. So if you want to get on my newsletter, more information about all the good stuff, it's savannahnoelle.com. And then of course, Facebook, Savanna Noelle Riker. Yeah.
Yay. Will you in our group, in Fuels group, put those links for everyone later?
It's also in Instagram. You can go to my link tree, which has all of that as well.
Awesome. I've had private sessions with her when I was pregnant, like I mentioned, and they were really powerful. She's soft and gentle, but helps us come up with what we're trying to cover up. They were really helpful for me, really helpful. And as Jackie mentioned on the beginning of the call, very helpful for her when she's taken programs from her. Anyone else watching on Facebook, this is a bonus class for Fuel. Fuel is about to close its container. It's a magical journey with just women to help elevate your life in health, wealth, and a whole lot of happiness, where we use ancient secrets and modern tools to create your dream life. If you have questions about joining Fuel and this goddess team, please direct message me. I know there's a few more that are coming. It's been really clear. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any other questions later about Savanna, her work, DM me. Girls, I love you so much. I'm so proud of all of you. I'm so honored and humbled. Dr. Norm always says, I didn't come here to teach you. I came here to love you. And love will teach you. Yeah. Makes me laugh. We're not here. I'm not here. She's not here. Savannah's not here to teach anyone. We're here to love each other. We're here to love each other, and love is going to expand us to the next level. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Kisses. Thank you, Savanna, for speaking.
You're welcome. I love you guys. I can't wait for this program.
Yeah! Go Fuel! Here's to our beach house.
Yes, please.
Bye, girls. Love you.